I mean, I want more. I'm not pretending like it's over. Of course I want more. But this incessant, nonstop anger that the Warriors have done such criminal activities to the legacy of Steph Curry is just wild to me.
I just pulled up the list of NBA champions all time, right?
Yeah.
There's been 11 teams in the history of the NBA that have won multiple championships. Just 11. All right? 11 teams. Milwaukee, who just recently won one, they had a 40-year drought?
Yeah.
They didn't win since
Alcindor to Giannis.
Yeah, Kareem wasn't even Kareem yet.
No.
He was Lou Alcindor, and it was Oscar Robertson. The Houston Rockets, they got the 2 championships in 94 and 95.
Some say the Jordan championships or the vacated Jordan championships.
Haven't won since. Haven't gone to a final since. All right?
And the Warriors are part of the reason.
New York Knicks have 2 championships. They haven't won since 1973.
Wow.
They won 2 championships, 1970 and 1973.
51 years ago.
73. The last time the Knicks won. Now, the Heat have 3, and they all came from 06, 2012, 2013.
Hey, the Heat have been one of the most successful organizations in sports since the turn of the century.
No doubt. I totally agree with that. The Philadelphia 76ers, Shasky, have 3 world championships in the history of their franchise. They've won once since 1967. They haven't won since 1983.
I was going to say 83. Okay. The
LA
famous
Lakers.
Dr. J.
Dr. J, Dunk, and they swept the Lakers and Moses Malone,
Yes.
all that stuff. And the Bulls, of course, won 6 championships with Michael Jordan
and have
all in the 90s and done nothing before Jordan and have done nothing
Jerry
after
Sloan
Jordan.
on line 1.
I mean, rest in peace, Jerry Sloan, but they did nothing before Jordan and they've done nothing since Jordan.
Although I did think Eddie Curry and Tyson Chandler were going to do something.
I thought Eddie Curry, after watching his documentary, I thought he was going to be sick.
Was it William Avery, too? Who was the other guard that they had?
Oh, you're thinking of Duke?
Yeah. Didn't they draft him one year?
No, William Avery went to Minnesota. He got drafted by Minnesota.
Okay. Who was the guard they had?
Chicago?
I know they had the guy Ben Gordon from UConn.
Ben Gordon.
And I know they had Derrick Rose, but didn't they have another point guard?
Was Kirk Heinrich
Yeah, I was going to say Kirk
Was
Heinrich.
it Kirk Heinrich?
Was it Kirk Heinrich?
With the glasses?
Kansas?
Maybe that was a little later.
Him and Dan Dick, I always confused.
Was that a little later? But anyway,
keep going.
Like
I'm
the
totally
Sacramento Kings have one. The Sacramento Kings have one championship, and that was when they were in Kansas City, or could have been Rochester. Could have been the Rochester Royals at that point. That was 1951. The Baltimore Bullets,
70 years ago.
The Baltimore Bullets, who have since folded, have a championship. They won it in 1948. The Blazers have one championship, 1977. OKC, as the Seattle Sonics, have a championship in 1979. The Wizards have a championship in 1958. The Hawks, when they were in St. Louis, have a championship in 1958. So you get the point here. It's really tough to win in the NBA. It's really tough to win championships. There's a handful of teams that have won.
The Heat had the best roster I think I've ever seen. And they won 2.
Yeah.
And it was a disappointment.
Right.
To certain people.
So 888-957-9570. Jay Williams, maybe Jay Williams, who's the Bulls boy who wrecked the motorcycle and
thank you.
All that stuff. So
wrecked the motorcycle.
Are you content with 4, or are you angry that they didn't get more? Let's go to Uncle Gene in Oakland. Uncle Gene, what's happening?
Hey, Uncle Gene.
Morning, fellas.
Morning.
As I've said before, I'll say again, I'm perfectly happy with the 4. In fact, I would have been perfectly happy with the 3. The 4th was really a bonus. Listen, I endured, 18 years of absolutely miserable basketball, with the exception of the We Believe year and maybe the year after. So I'm perfectly content. They don't have to do anything more for me to be perfectly happy with what they've done. I'm not angry at all. I'm more happy actually for the grandkids and for my son. My son is going to be 47 and basically only had one championship of all the teams we supported all those years until the 2015 championship. So, no, I'm once again, I can go to my grave being perfectly content with this team. There's no reason to be angry with them.
Right. And now, look, Big Dan, I'm sure Curry, on his 36th birthday, he still is hungry for one more. Draymond Green, before the season, I asked him, why is this the most important season of your career? And he pointed at a finger saying, I got to get that 5th ring. Joe Lacob, I got to get that one for the thumb. So they're hell-bent on getting a 5th ring. Don't get it twisted. They still want to win a lot of championships. But as fans, if they do come up short, this has been the greatest era of Golden State Warriors basketball we've ever seen. And it may be the greatest era of any sports team. Maybe the greatest dynasty in Bay Area sports history. We're talking about the Oakland A's winning 3 straight in the 70s. We're talking about the Niners of the 80s. We're talking about the Giants 3 in 5 years. The Sharks had a good run, even though they didn't win the Stanley Cup. But they were good. They were really, really good. They made the Stanley Cup and they made the Western Conference Finals. I know you laugh at that, but the Sharks were really, really good. The Warriors may have had the greatest dynasty in Bay Area sports history. And we're really going to scoff and complain and kick the windows and kick our feet on the ground and say,
it's one thing to be frustrated about.
Come on, man.
Hey, 2016 is a great example. I'll never get over that one. But to be outraged on the daily that the team is inept and that they don't know what they're doing, that's where I'm like, come on, guys.
You know what?
Come on, y'all.
This is crazy of me to say. This is so crazy for me to say. As we celebrate, oh, wow, Warriors Muse on Twitter. This is great. We'll go through this in a second, Shasky. We'll get to David and San Jose in a minute. But 36 record-breaking Stephen Curry playoff stats. We'll read them all. We'll have some fun with that. Right. We will. But 2016, this is crazy for me to say. I remember driving home from Oracle Arena. And surprisingly, I surprised myself. I was not even angry. I was not even sad. It was insane. You know why? You know, and I'll tell you why. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. And this is probably going to be a bad take to a lot of people. But I realized how much they gave us that season.
Of course, one of the greatest years in any sport of my life.
And I still talk to Fezzi about it. He goes, you have no idea, Bonte, how mentally fatigued we were by the time we even got to the Western Conference Finals. The fact they rallied for 3-1 against OKC is incredible to me. That was improbable. And okay, you had a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals. I get all that. But also, there's context to it. Draymond Green getting suspended for Game 5. Andrew Bogut getting hurt in Game 5 and being out for the rest of the season. Andre Iguodala's back, and a disappearing act of Harrison Barnes going 5 for 32 in the last 3 games of the series. And of course, you get Steph and Klay struggling in Game 7. They were on fumes. Steph Curry never made the excuse about playing on one knee.
Anderson Varejão's minutes.
I mean, think about that. Steph Curry couldn't get past Kevin Love at that point in Game 7. The knee was shot.
I know. Bonte, they were tied with 2 minutes to go, and Curry threw a behind-the-back pass.
You lost by 4 to LeBron in Game 7, and then 2 weeks later, Kevin Durant came aboard. And it was game over.
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking about that.
I was. When Kevin Durant signed, I was like, this is the greatest consolation prize in the history of sports.
That I agree with, but like that night, I'll never forget it. My wife, we had the whole family over. It was Father's Day, Sunday evening, and I got banished to the back room, and we ate in dead silence. And my grandfather, when we were finished, wiped the napkin across his mouth and was like, I'd like to go home now. And that's how we ended dinner.
Right. I remember being at the arena watching that, and I'm watching the celebration. Michelle. I'm watching the celebration, and I'm just thinking, damn. Because when it comes to sports, I love the history of it, just historic nature of it. I get Cleveland got their first championship or whatever, and I remember walking in the locker room. I grabbed a cork for old Dave Feldhouse, who used to run the board here at 95.7 the game and run our Warriors games, and he came over from the other station. And so we have a deep history. So I got him one because he's a big-time Cleveland fan. He's from Cleveland. But at the same time, I was like, man, that was one of the greatest seasons of basketball I've ever seen. I know it's kind of like the Patriots, right? I wonder how Patriot fans feel about 18-0 and then losing the Super Bowl. I know they're kicking themselves and they're angry as hell. But then I hear Spinoni talk about it. He's like, dude, that's the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. And they didn't win.
Ever. I still, to this day, that 07 Patriots squad, I know they didn't win it all. It's still the greatest team I've ever seen.
I might put the 89 Niners above them. I'm just...
Yeah, no, there's great teams.
There's an argument.
But think about that.
But yeah,
think about that. We're arguing about a team that didn't win the championship being one of the greatest ever. They didn't win. No, 73-9, I just remember the fun times that entire season. The start, the ruckus with Milwaukee when they were down 18 at Milwaukee at Oracle Arena. They come back and win. They're all
Luke Walton coaching 25 games.
41 games. 41 games.
Is it 41 that many? Yeah. I didn't know it was that many.
I think it was like 41.
What did they start? 23-0?
24-0.
And the back-to-back when they lost that, that was so heartbreaking.
To Milwaukee, they were tired. They were gassed.
Well, that was because they had that double
overtime. They went to
in
New
Boston
York.
Boston the night before.
Boston, that's what it was. I knew it was the Eastern Seaboard team.
Yep. So and they played Milwaukee a couple weeks later. They were down 18 to Milwaukee. They came back and won that game.
Final night of the year, Kobe's final game is the night that they win 73.
Twitter broke that night.
Yeah, it did. That's right.
Came up. And I remember walking into the Grizzlies locker room when they beat the Grizzlies. And Zach Randolph was like, he goes, I asked him about, the brand of basketball. He goes, bruh, I'm going to tell you like this. I ain't never seen nothing like that. He goes, I ain't never seen nothing like that. He goes, it's unbelievable what they're doing. They won 73 games. And they had to win 73 because San Antonio won 67.
Yeah.
It was on their ass for the number 1 seed. So, I mean, I never, like, when I think about that season, yeah, it did suck. They didn't cap it off with a championship. But it didn't linger with me like I thought it would. I thought I'd be angry for years and years and years and years and years.
I'll never get over it. We're just different on that one.
Yeah,
I'll never get over that one.
I mean, I don't know if I'll quite get over it, but
I think, but a part of me also thinks, had they never lost that, I'm not sure that there's the same desire, like the way they did everything from then on, like losing that way. It was like, oh, well, regular season's invalidated. I think it really kind of screwed the NBA as well. I think the NBA as a whole is kind of like, yeah, you got to pace yourself for the playoffs. Just moving forward, I think we realized that. The other part is I just think there was a desire to always prove themselves because everything that they did in the 73-win season was invalidated by morons because they lost to LeBron and Kyrie.
And the context, nobody ever brings up the context of what happened during that series. They were running out. Sean Livingston was running off fumes, man, to get through Oklahoma City that year. In what is, my opinion, one of the greatest playoff series I've ever watched in my life. I put it up there with Rockets Suns, mid-'90s when the Rockets came back from 3. Hell, back-to-back years against the Suns. And look, the thing about Barkley and the Phoenix Suns, I hate when they say, oh, Phoenix choked. They were not. They won 60 games 3 straight years.
Dan the Man
2 straight years. Dan the Man Marley, Kevin. They won 60 games 3 straight years.
Cedric Savalas, Kevin
Richard
Johnson.
Dumas, yeah.
They were sick.
They lost to
AC
Chicago
Green.
in 6 games. They lost to Chicago in 6 games. They had Danny Ainge coming off the bench.
Yes,
and then they lose to Rockets. They were up 2-0 on the Rockets, winning their first 2 games in Houston, coming back from 20-point deficits. Then the Rockets come back, win 2 in Phoenix. They win that series, and then the next year they come back from 3-1. So it's hard. But that OKC series, I put up there with the best of them.
Fonte.
Knicks, Pacers. I mean, wow, what a
Your
series.
ability to one-up me as I'm randomly naming players.
I wasn't trying to one-up you.
No, it was amazing.
No,
we
you're
have
trying to one-up me.
sports Tourette's.
No.
It's unreal.
No, it is. I mean, it is. I mean, Paul Westphal is the head coach.
That's right.
You know, and then playing the Bulls, one of the greatest final series I've seen, even though it was a 6-game series. So, it's hard to win championships, folks.
Well, here's a great text from Bram, our buddy, Warriors Huddle. Warriors fans spent decades watching teams with less than 30 wins.
Yep.
Our only hope was for a 100-point game so we could get a free chalupa. Boy, I remember those days. Anyone who can't appreciate the dynastic, incredible success that they've brought the last 10 years desperately needs to seek perspective.
Right. So, look, we all want that 5th championship.
Of course.
Trust me. I want
Steph wants it.
I want Clay. I want Dre to have Kyrie so they could be at the table with Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant and some of the greatest of all time who won 5 championships. But think about it. With 4, they've already surpassed Larry Bird and Robert Parrish.
That's incredible.
You know what I'm saying?
It's and McHale.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
I had to one up you there.
Yeah, you did. Well, that was an obvious one there.
Well, I mean, you can't just go Bird, Parrish, and not say McHale.
I was going to say that. Well, McHale, I think, only won 2. I don't know if he was part of the first championship.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
That's why they say McHale.
You got to Google it.
You got to Google it. Fact check that. I think McHale only got the 2. Steiny's
in the back.
Yeah, he's on the great. He was probably aching right now.